Now, before any of you say, I know that Vox is supposed to be a pathetic little villain or whatever that you're supposed to dislike, but I disagree, okay? I really disagree, and I want to go over as many thoughts as I've written down and can remember to talk about and get this all off my chest, okay? So, what frustrates me about Vox the most is how much he was built up throughout the season just to be finished in the most feel-good baby movie way imaginable. In season 1, he felt like he was just sort of like a joke or whatever. He was just like a parallel to Alastor, and they were gonna have this ongoing back and forth together. But in season 2, they were clearly setting him up to be a much more ambitious character, and he's not just trying to be the most successful news channel or broadcast anymore. He's trying to rise to godhood. And also, we get a glimpse into how it is to be picked up by the V's when we see the life cycle of their stars to that one background girl. After which, you get to see a meeting with them where Vox explains his wishes to rise above being an overlord in hell. He also, for the first time, mentions that he used to run a cult when he was alive and a human. This indicates to us that he might be a lot more intelligent than the show lets on. And in this scene, we also get to see his shark, and we get to see his autism peek out a little bit more. And later in the episode, or yeah, I think it is this episode, but later on, he gets called to the hotel because Charlie wants to prove that redemption can happen and that she has proof and she can show it. So we get to see a wonderful dynamic with Vox and Velvet when they go there, and they get to kind of bounce off each other, and they have wonderful chemistry. He perfectly uses everything that Charlie says against her. Whenever they're asking questions, if she's unsure of how to answer whatever she does say, they'll take that and run with it. He's very clever, and he's able to use what she says to portray her as a dictator on the news. And also, when she does try to prove redemption to them by redeeming Angel Dust, he's smart enough to know her plan, and he cuts the brakes of the train to kind of cause more of a panic and to mess with her plans more. He also uses his knowledge of Angel's past to mess with his mind, to force the truth to come out, to make tensions in the hotel rise up. Also really loved when Charlie said that she believed that he could also be redeemed like anyone else, and his face flashes from his little sinister smile to a frown. And I like to wonder if he's annoyed at her naivety of not understanding the weight of his sins and not understanding human morality, or that he was just generally annoyed that he wasn't able to kill her hopes and waver her spirits. Later on, he gets into a fight with Alastor after Alastor points out that he's stalking him, and Al convinces him to make a deal, owning his soul as long as he doesn't put his hands on Charlie. Initially, I kind of wish that he didn't take the offer up so quickly, but the more I think about it, I think that was good. I like that he went for it right away. It doesn't get handled very well later on, but I'll talk about that later. He parades around his victory and shows off the fact that he owns Alastor to everyone in town, and we also get a little flashback between them to see what their origins were together, and we get foreshadowing that Vox can perfectly mimic people when he mimics the voice of Alastor. Vox also wants to be business partners or friends or more than that with Alastor, and Alastor has the most brutal way of rejecting him, calling Vincent pathetic for wanting to be anything more. We can infer from the scene that Vox actually had romantic feelings for him, and this rejection hurt him very deeply. This unrequited love, as well as the blow to his ego, was a big pusher in what he would do from that point on. He's also able to rally up the overlords by catering to their specific interests in later scenes, all except for Zestial and Carmilla, who he later does approach to request that she helps him with making the weapon to destroy heaven that will breach into heaven, and Zestial, he just sort of sees him as an old elder that doesn't really matter. He then holds a speech to get Hell on his side, and when Lucifer tries to interrupt by reasserting his status as king of hell, Vox shows no fear. He says that the people need someone who understands their struggle and uses Lilith's uprising to dig under Lucifer's skin. When Lucifer tries to strike him, he's not able to, and that's when Vox points out how he can't hurt sinners and calls him weak for it, using that very famous line of the chains, you know, we all know it, and how he's going to rise and that Lucifer won't be able to stop him. Heaven comes down, and at first Vox panics that they're here to silence him, but we see his quick-witted cult brain kick into action, and he's ready to spin the appearance back onto them. He uses the fact they came down with gift baskets baskets against them, seeing how they equate the worth of a sinner's life to only being worth that of a gift basket, you know? And he declares holy war on them and taunts them by telling them to rope. And I really can't get over this, how after Sarah shows her angelic form, he's able to replicate that immediately in an even more grandiose manner. It's really made it seem like he was holding back his power, and that it's really made it seem like he was hiding his power a lot. He also asked Valentina for Angel, and I've already said how I wish that he kept his cool in the scene. I'm not gonna go over it again. We're just gonna move on. When he corners Angel, we get the beautiful reveal that he's been using him as a spy, and they show flashbacks to Poison where and we also get a flashback that says tell me the tea later, and how all of it has just been Vox hypnotizing him to gather more intel. He's always just been under Vox's control. Very much a tentacle fetish scene though in the electrocution kink. I'm sorry, Angel's always the poor little twinkish victim of all of these scenes. At the end we also get to see him use his ability to perfectly replicate the voice of Charlie in Lure in Lucifer. When he captures Lucifer, he changes into that circular box, planning to use him as a battery for the weapon. Alastor later taunts Vox for being weak and dependent on others for power, and needy, and whatever. I'm gonna come back to this point later. It really bugged me when the scene happened. We then get him calling Charlie and inviting her to the party, and as he leaves we get human lore. I like that as he rises the ranks, his pins change from a fish to a shark. I thought that was a cute little detail. And he starts off as a weatherman, and we get to see that he always has this catchphrase of trust us with, and then whatever his show was about at the time. He's seen killing other hosts so that he can take their place. He gets his bosses to sign him to higher ranks and throws them off buildings, things like that. We also learned that his name was Vincent Whitman. Vincent like the old purple guy, and Whitman like white man. Haha. He gets more eccentric about starring in more and more interesting news and he brings his cult following to an abandoned aquarium. It's interesting to note how he got rid of his glasses, dyed his hair black, and despite it getting messier, and he got his teeth fixed. And he also got a very glittery suit. The TVs all around the room were his inevitable downfall when he talks about baptizing his followers into a new era and the TV falls on his head. The electricity goes through the current of the water and kills his cult alongside him. Now as a demon we see him rising the stairs, and we see him ready to finally have his moment to shine. He has the party of overlords. Charlie hacks the presentation, and he also uses his tentacle to force anyone into whatever position he wants, like at the table. He also really likes to get to humiliate Charlie when they're there, and then she hacks the presentation. Baxter also mutes him, which, you know, everyone found that very funny. We all like to see him get overheated when he tried to talk and yell through that. And then when Charlie can't connect the stream, he's confident and he recalibrates his volume to be able to fix the hack. He also sends in Shockwave fight against the hack that Baxter's doing. I think it's really cute that the shark is able to text through little barks. Later on, he uses hypnosis on the masses to prevent Charlie's little thing from working again, I think. I kind of have a vague memory of that scene. Yeah, he gets her to say that he's the most powerful sinner, and he puts his hand on his shoulders, which is what gives Al the ability to finally break free from his deals. They get into a fight. Vox uses a bunch of his different little demon forms. He has this shark come and help him, which Alastor taunts him for. And also, I completely forgot to mention this, but during the party, Vox does use his weapon to break through the barrier of heaven and threatens that hell is coming to kill them unless they surrender in 24 hours. Again, something that made him feel like he should have been a much more imposing villain. But anyways, he reactivates the beam. He starts swinging it around carelessly, which obliterates anything that gets caught in the path of it. And once it starts to get overheated, Carmilla warns him that it'll blow up if he keeps using it, and Vox breaks down, finally crashes out, says that he doesn't care anymore about what happens to heaven or hell, and in an attempt to take his own life, he wires himself to it, declaring that as long as he wipes the smile off Alastor's face, that he doesn't care what follows. So after so many scenes of his screen glitching out when he comes too close to crying or breaking in front of Alastor, seemingly programmed to never show how he feels, Vox finally sheds a tear, and after that everything kind of goes downhill immediately. Velvet and Val shove him off of the weapon, and Vox, in anguish, says how this is his destiny and he needs to be able to do this so he can finally have his moment to shine. And Val just sort of rips his head off and turns into a tablet, and the other characters use our friendship to deactivate the bomb, and Vox begs them not to. I really hate how they just turn him into a baby. Like, this all just turns into a baby show at the end. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm glad he isn't dead at least, but now I'm just kind of annoyed with what they might do with him in the future. So now that we're done the recap, and I can finally get get to what I want to say, let's go over my points. First off, his human lore. I really wish that they didn't make him just a generic serial killer, because it feels like a very basic bad guy thing to do. I think it would have fit his character a lot more to have him spreading rumors or plant false evidence against his competition in order to ruin their reputation. It would have fit him a lot more, and I wanted him to use his charm and intellect to be able to turn their audience against them. I kind of like that I really like the way that his cult was portrayed. One of my big gripes with his character in this season though is how consistently he always falls for Alastor's rage bait. In season 1, you know, it's funny, it's just sort of like a little gag, but as the show went on, I wanted to see him develop past that. I like when Alastor says he still needs him, and you know, he's like, you need other people to make you more powerful. I wanted Vox to be able to finally just own up to it. I wanted him to just be like, yeah, I do need other people to be powerful, but in the end, I'm still getting what I want. He doesn't care anymore how much Alastor wants to taunt him, how much other people want to say to him. In the end, he's still getting his goal. Like, even with the whole killing thing, like, you know, you might think that that's, you know, that's such a cop-out way to get to the rank that you want, but in the end, he was still rising as a star, so he's still, you know, he's still achieving the next step of his goal every time, so it doesn't matter what people want to say to him, he's still actually getting stuff done. I also don't like the way that the deal with Alastor is broken on a technicality. I feel like if they weren't, so it feels like they're afraid of making Vox like feel like a serious threat. Like, I wanted him to be able to catch on to the wordplay, and maybe that was why he was so eager. Like, Alastor thought he outsmarted him, but Vox was like, I've known you for this many years, I figured that it was too good to be true, and when you said it like that, I put one and one together, and that's why I was so excited, is because I knew that so long as I just never touched her, that I would always have you, and now you thought you outsmarted me, but like, we were close for however many years. I know how your brain works. It feels silly. It feels like they were just trying to make it convenient to have Alastor just get out of his deal that quickly and have this big fight. I think Vox has a lot of potential to be like a mastermind villain. You know, the way that he's defeated is just ridiculous. Like, every time I think of the ending, I'm really frustrated. He gets such like a kid villain treatment. You can really tell that Vivzi wrote this in 2013 because it is such shit, man. Maybe he'll come back even smarter and stronger in the next seasons, or he'll flip around and be a nice redeemable guy. But as it is right now, I really think that he could have been smarter. I kind of really wish that they had him actually break through the heaven and everyone realizes that they finally realize that he is a genuine threat, because maybe in his human life it was like human things that were holding him back. The fact that he could die, or you know, the laws that are in place in society is what held him back, but in hell there isn't that same restriction. That line of there's no chains on me, that could have meant so much more, not just the chains that are on Lucifer, but chains that were on Vox when he was alive. That every like rule that he had to follow, how he had to hide his criminal life so that he could rise as a star, he doesn't need to care about that anymore because he's in hell. Like, everyone's a bad person, no one cares about that. So he could be able to rise in the way that he wants and just be brutal, because now he has the ability to get all the power he wants. He has the weapon, he has allies that are always gonna be on his side. Anyways, that's just what I think. I just think that they really should have stuck with him being a more menacing villain and just written him to be smarter, because like, we all know this is supposed to be an adult show as Vivzi wants to proclaim it, but you know, they wrote him to be stupid as a kid show would. Don't be afraid to write your adult characters to think like adults and to be complex, mature. Don't be afraid of that. That's what I'm thinking. So anyways, maybe if I do end up doing like husband character redesigns, I'll talk about how I would rewrite them, or I'll make little headcanons or something, because if you guys can't tell, I'm very passionate about this character. So yeah, have a wonderful day. Share this video with another husband fan. Comment what you think of Vox, like, and maybe subscribe. Okay, great day, love you.